I'm also the founder of the Institute of Peak Performance Psychology as well. So a number of different businesses. I've worked with close to 50,000 people all over the country. I've worked with people that are, I suppose, on the edge of life, right through to people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And really, it's fundamentally the same thing. It's looking at the internal world and looking at the external world, and that's really what I bring to the equation. When I first started out as a coach, I started out as life coaching, and fundamentally it was like you'd set a goal with your clients, and it would be like a to-do list every single session. Has anyone had life coaching before, or anything along those lines? Anyone had any form of coaching, business coaching, consulting, or anything along those lines? Yeah. And so really, fundamentally, it was like a to-do list. We'd set an outcome or a goal, and then we put a plan in place, and then every single session it would be, measuring against your milestones and these actions and these strategies. Now, what I would find with a percentage of people, they'd start to procrastinate, or they'd be really, really motivated initially in terms of starting the coaching, and then we'd hit a barrier, or they'd be out of their comfort zone, and they'd start to procrastinate. Can anyone relate to that?
Sounds like a gym contract.
Yeah, exactly. And so I used to get great results by getting massive leverage on people. And so kind of getting rid of the exit strategies, having hard conversations. And I used to joke it would be like blood on the walls in some of my coaching sessions, because we'd really get down to the nitty-gritty and I'd really challenge people. And I always thought there must be another way, because under some conditions, people would make incredible changes instantly. And so I started to study those people, and what made them make those massive changes very, very quickly, where every aspect of their life started to change. Fundamentally, I believe from the business point of view, if you want to grow your business, at the top level, you actually have to change your identity. You have to change your belief systems, you have to change who you are, and then what happens is that spills down throughout the organisation. Would you guys agree with that? And that's a big challenge, because sometimes at the top level, you want to hold on to the things that sometimes are comfortable, but that are absolutely not working. And so I started to study things like NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming. I started to study the unconscious mind, and I really jumped into that and really focused in these particular areas. And I do these incredible breakthrough sessions with people that would last 12 hours, and we'd knock off every single limiting belief system, we'd look at values, we'd look at all of these types of things. The person would leave my session, fried, like crawling out of it, but they'd have this major awakening. Their optimism levels would go up, they'd start to take more action. But the challenge was, it's like if you go to a Tony Robbins event, you've got this kind of inflated energy. And so you've got these motivated idiots that are kind of jumping out there with high optimism levels, but with no structure, no plan, and no strategy. And so what happens is if you've got a massive peak of emotion, what often follows? A drop. Yeah. And this is a challenge with wealth creation as well. You go to a wealth creation seminar, and then suddenly you're really, really inflated, and it looks easy, and all of these types of things, and then you start to take action, you jump out of your comfort zone, you start to play a game that you're really not ready to play. And so what happens is that then you get a learning experience, and then you fall back down, and then you start to balance yourself out. And so I started to take the NLP, or working with the unconscious, and timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and all these types of things, and I started to integrate it into life coaching. And then I started to get into businesses, because I found that the same principles started to apply. And so I kind of combined life coaching, business consulting, and NLP all in the one type of structure. And that's really where Your Future Now, that's what I train coaches to do these days, is to work with businesses from this type of kind of mindset, to have a holistic balance, because quite frankly, what I find with especially top-level business owners is that their health was ratchet. And I come in and they want me to help them to become more productive. And they were thinking that we needed to look at their time management plan, or whatever it may be, but fundamentally we just needed to get them a personal trainer. We needed to help them with their nutrition and all these types of things. And as I said before, it's the energy at the top. So we started to increase the energy of the directors, and the energy starts to flow down. They become more productive, they become more focused, and it has a profound effect. And so all of the lifestyle components really apply to business. Who would agree with that? Like often, if from a director point of view, if you're having challenges around your relationships at home, guess what happens in the business environment? Because it's such an archetypal structure. Because you have employees that often are manifestations of past relationships that are unresolved. And so you have your employees playing out their childhood issues. Has anyone found that? Mother-father issues starting to come up with direct employees. And so once you start to fix your kind of relationships at home, suddenly the relationships start to improve in the business environment. And so tonight I'm going to share with you some keys around kind of working with your internal world, and then also working on strategy to grow your business to the next level. Is that okay? So my definition of a business is actually you could go away on holidays for say 6 months, and the business will actually either stay where it is or turn a profit. Can anyone do that in this room at the moment? Okay, so we're probably kind of small. Okay, excellent. What I might get you to do is just write down what your expectations are from this event, or maybe some questions or something along those lines, because I think that's when I can be really valuable to you, is if I can get really specific and strategic around what's going on in your life. So if you think of your business, what's your biggest challenge at the moment? What's your biggest challenge? What do you want to learn? What would you like to overcome, whether it be about yourself or about business in general from a strategic point of view? So maybe if you just want to spend 5 minutes just writing down maybe some questions or some things that you'd like to get out of this evening, and I can really tailor-make this evening to you guys. Right, I'll come back to these. I'm going to jump straight into education, some education on internal and external, and then we'll handle these at the end. How does that sound? Okay, so who's done mindset work, or who's been to seminars on mindset and all those types of things? Okay, good. What type of seminars have you been to? Howard, Robbins, or?
I've been to the Chris Howard.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one, the
Breakthrough to Success. Okay. And okay, good.
Yeah, as an example. Yeah.
And what did you find from that course? What did you apply in your own life when it came to mindset from that particular course?
Positivity. I guess that better, and also another lesson was, I guess, getting accountability.
Okay, cool.
So,
have you done any root cause work at an unconscious level?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Anyone else done a root cause work at the unconscious level? Okay, that's what I...
Are you speaking English?
Yeah, I'll get into that. When I say root cause, dealing with the root cause of challenges or whatever it may be, but I'll jump straight into this. So, there's the internal world, there's the external world. And this is really the biggest thing. If you think of, like, you've got your conscious mind, you've got your unconscious mind. Everyone's heard of this before? Mm-hmm. Your conscious mind is fundamentally what you're conscious of. Your unconscious mind is the unconscious processes that are happening inside of yourself that you have a lack of awareness of. Now, this is really the biggest challenge when it comes to motivation, when it comes to looking at the world in a certain way. Because if you've got a huge amount of pessimism or rejection stored at the unconscious level, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a challenge in front of you. Then you're really only going to see the challenges of the challenge, or the problems of the challenge. And then often what's going to happen is you're going to make those problems about yourself, which is an internal dialogue of, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, it's impossible, or whatever it may be. And so very self-based challenges. Versus a person that has a high optimism reading at the unconscious level, they're going to have a challenge. And they're not going to make the challenge about themselves, they're actually going to switch on. And that challenge is going to be exciting, it's going to be an opportunity, and they're going to keep moving instead of retreating. And so this is the biggest challenge when I look at small business, and we're talking about mindset around small business, is that often you've got employee mentality. Employee mentality is where you've got the heroin injection every single fortnight or month of the income. And so you've got a huge amount of certainty when it comes to your income, but when you jump out into small business, what happens is that you've got a lack of certainty, because suddenly your income is dependent on you. Now, if you've got expenses or creditors or whatever it may be, and you've got this big hole that starts to happen around your finances, suddenly emotion starts to come up. Now, if you've got some rejection at the unconscious level around security or uncertainty, suddenly your emotions are going to start to go in a different direction. Has anyone noticed that? Yeah. And so what happens is that you, instead of kind of challenging yourself through that problem, you go off in different directions. So your unconscious mind will take the path of least resistance. And so if you can find a quicker way to be able to solve a problem that's not necessarily the strategic way, you'll probably jump into that pattern with a lower reading of optimism versus pessimism. So this is a real challenge. So if we're talking about your conscious mind, what you're consciously aware of, and your unconscious mind, imagine this: you've got your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, they're in a race. Your conscious mind runs at, say, 1,000 meters per second. Your unconscious mind runs at, say, 100,000 meters per second. So your unconscious mind is going to win every single time. And this is the challenge. This is why people hold on to patterns of behaviour that aren't necessarily congruent, but they're addicted to it and they keep doing it. And so if you think of it this way, imagine your conscious mind is driven by wants. And so a want could be, oh, I want $1 million, or I want this amazing business, I want this lifestyle. Whereas your unconscious mind is driven by needs. Okay? And so needs could be needs for love, could be needs for security, needs for connection, okay? Needs for certainty, or whatever it may be. And so you've got to think about it. Here I've got my conscious mind, and I want $1 million, but my unconscious mind has a need for security at this point in time. So this is why when you set a goal, suddenly you're really, really motivated, you're really, really pumped, and then you start to self-sabotage. Now, I don't believe in self-sabotage because what's really happening here is that your unconscious mind is winning a race. It's running at 100,000 metres per second versus your conscious mind is only running at 1,000 metres per second. So, I want $1 million, yet my unconscious mind wants security. What's going to win? Security every single time. And so even though we've got these great goals, this exciting vision, we're not congruent at the unconscious level to that. And when I talk about the internal game, it's really being able to connect your unconscious mind needs to the conscious mind wants. And once you can connect your wants and your needs together, that's when you've got congruency. That's when you're starting to, jump into challenges and really, I suppose, moving through them very, very quickly. So I want you to think about yourself at the moment. Notice from a business point of view, when you're really, really on, maybe when it comes to sales, marketing, all of these types of things are often the big tip-offs. Like you can have a person that's got, they're great at admin, they're great at organising things, yet when it comes to promoting themselves or selling themselves, that's when you start to procrastinate because I'm out there communicating and suddenly if I get rejection, that rejection means unsecurity. And so therefore, I'm not going to make the calls because at that point in time, not making the calls is the fastest way I can get certainty and avoid insecurity. Does that make sense? And so this is why it's so important, especially for a small business owner, to be working on your mindset. And it's not just, reading the book The Secret and then, writing out this big audacious goal and then reading it every single day. That doesn't work because often you read the goal and then you look at your life and go, okay, well, I haven't got it. And so you're reinforcing the fact that you actually haven't got it. Because what matters is how you feel. And that is what rewrites the unconscious mind. So if you're feeling in a negative state while you're reading this goal, what's happening is you're perpetuating the challenge. Does that make sense to everyone? So the biggest thing is one of the reasons I set up the Institute of Peak Performance Psychology is because I think it's just so important to be working on this, to be working on your unconscious mind on a consistent basis. I mean, I see my coach twice a week because every single time there's a challenge in business, I want to get myself prepared for it. I want to clear out whatever is at the unconscious level, and then I get back into action very, very quickly. And when you start to do this, you'll notice that your performance and your productivity just continues to grow and grow and grow. I liken it to, you see a personal trainer. You see a personal trainer once a week. I believe that you should see someone that can work with your unconscious mind exactly the same on a consistent basis. So you have a big project or whatever it is, or there's a big marketing plan or something that you're doing to grow your business. I believe that you've got to be getting yourself congruent, or your unconscious mind congruent to that, to be able to make the most of the opportunities. Think about it this way: there's 2 million bits of information coming to us every single second. Through our 5 senses, which is visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory, which is taste and smell, we're really only grabbing 134 bits per minute. So imagine this: I'm pouring 2 million matchsticks over the top of you every single second, and you can only grab a handful. So we're deleting and distorting and generalizing so much information. We're missing so much information. Now, if at the unconscious level, you've got all of these negative belief systems, which could be, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, or I never get whatever it is, or pessimism, or whatever it may be, you're only going to have 57 properties. Now, that's pretty incredible growth, isn't it? Now, one of the first things that he did was this, which is the first pillar that I talk about, is commitment. Now, you've probably heard of this before. You have to be committed and all of these types of things. But when I talk about commitment, I'm talking about at a core level. It's easy to say I'm committed. I run seminars with thousands of people in the room, and I say, who's committed? Who's committed to changing their life? And every single person puts their hand up. And I'm like, do you really understand what I'm talking about when I mean commitment?